Cord. All right, here we go. So get your scrap paper out. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to go through 5 easy border patterns fairly quickly, and then you're going to learn 6 new patterns on the tile. So these are just like an extra bonus. And the first one is called Eek. It's an original ZoomTangle pattern. Makes for a nice border. And you can do this with me. We're just going to come up and loop. Up and loop. Almost like you're drawing a kind of a small letter E in a way. And now we're going to turn our page upside down and do the same thing, but get those loops in these spaces. So we come like this, doing the same exact thing, but bringing those loops in those empty spaces. So we are relaxed and we're in meditation mode, but we're not going as slow as we're going to be going when we move to the tile. All right, so that is Eek, or EKE. Next one is Tipple. Now Tipple, you all know Tipple, it's just orbs, but actually I'm going to do it this way. What I really like this border, the way we form these orbs. So we're going to draw a nice big orb, and then little ones, all different sizes, almost like a bunch, no particular organization. And then you draw another big orb. And then you just do that again. All different sizes, but they're small, they're all bunched together. And then another big one. And it's really pretty. And again, I'm going very fast for ZoomTangle, right? And so that is Tipple. And you might do something else with orbs, but that's kind of the idea for that. The next one is, it's Tink, or variation of Tink. Really easy. You draw a little orb, which is just a circle, and then you draw a line, straight line, double up that line, and then put another orb at the end. And that's it. And I've used this border on Opus tiles and other patterns, or other designs. That's all it is. And it's fun to draw. Now the actual Tink would take this and go in different directions, but that would be for the border. And now we have one. I'm going to do it this way, and all you do is zigzag up and down and diagonal, just like little V's, and then you make them into X's. So you're doing that right across. Doing the same exact thing, but just crossing it. Now another way to do this is just draw an X, and then draw another X, connecting them. This is, as far as I know, I don't know if this is an actual pattern, or if there's a name of this. I'm calling it XV or accordion, because it looks like an accordion a little bit. So it makes a nice border. Also, that will be on my embellishment list when we do my embellishments workshop. And let's see, we've got one more, and that is one of my newer patterns, which is Love Bugs. So Love Bugs, I'm just going to squeeze it in. Actually, I'm going to do it right here. Put in a little circle, color that in, and give it these arc shapes, little petal, rice shape, and then another little ball, and then we just continue that. So I created this in honor of the love bugs in Florida. And so you can make this into a border. And the other thing you can do with this, you can either leave it like that, or you can aura it. And when I aura, I actually also aura the little balls. And that's so. So you've got your 5 easy patterns, and I will put the names in the email, but we did eek, tipple, tink, XV or accordion that I just made up, and love bugs. Sorry for my messy writing. Okay, so pretty cool, huh? All right, very nice. And you're probably already getting some ideas on your own. You probably should have an extra sketchbook nearby or paper, because you're going to be inspired to create borders out of patterns you already know. I just bet that's going to happen. Okay, so make sure you've got your name, today's date, and where you are, ZoomTangle Borders class, on your tile or sketchbook or whatever you're using. And we're going to turn it over and get out your pencil. Let's take another deep breath in and out, relaxing, getting into our meditation mode. We're not going to put dots in the corners. Instead, we're going to draw lines from the corners, just about an inch out. Doesn't have to be exact, just to kind of give you an idea. Kind of an inch out. Inch, half inch, 3/4 of an inch, it doesn't matter. So that's all we did. From the points, we drew a diagonal line inside. And now we're going to connect the ends of these lines. Nice and slow and relaxed. Just draw a line from one tip to the other of these lines that we just drew. Turn in your tile. I like to use the side of the tip of the pencil. And one of the reasons, or the main reason I like that, I learned that actually from Joe, Zen Joe, that Debbie was talking about, is because then when we shade those, there won't be like a pencil line there if we use the side of the pencil. The next thing, we're going to do this again. So from the same corner, we're going to come up again, another inch, or half an inch, again, doesn't matter. And then we're going to connect those. Nice and slow and relaxed, turning your tile to get a nice comfortable position. Remembering to breathe. Okay, so there's our string for today. When you're done with that, you can put down your pencil and pick up your pen. Now, a border is used to go around something, right? Not just another border, which you could actually. So what I've decided for today is in the middle, we're going to put a grid pattern. And this grid pattern can also be used as a border, but we're going to use it as a grid today, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like as a border. So the first thing is we'll draw a line down the middle. We're using the square. Now if your square is really, really small, it still doesn't matter. Just go with it. Line down the middle and then cross the other way down the middle. So we're dividing the square into 4 sections. And as you can see, they're not equally divided because there's no perfection in ZoomTangle, and that's just the way I do it. So doesn't matter. Now, let's look at the first section. So from this corner, these 2 corners, we're going to draw a slightly arced line from corner to corner. And let's double that up. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but it's a different corner, as you can see. And we'll do the bottom going from this way. So we're going to do that this way. So we're kind of creating a diamond shape. Now in each one of these sections, we're going to start with 1. And from the center, we're going to draw a line to the center of that first arc. And then just draw a straight line from that same point over to either side. And if you can fit in another line on either side, go right ahead. Now do that with all 3 sections. So from that center point, draw a straight line to that first arc, and then we're just going to draw a straight line. And when I say straight, it doesn't mean perfectly straight. Whatever you want, you could do even a slightly curved line if you'd like. So do that in all of these triangular sections, nice and slow, focusing on each stroke. Turning your tile whenever you want to get a comfortable angle. And when you're done with that, we're going to draw a little arc shape, almost like the beginning of a crescent moon, and color that in, and do that on all sides. 1 in the middle, that's all you're going to do. 1 in the middle on each side. And then you're going to aura each one, just like we do in the pattern crescent moon. And now you're going to keep auraing them, drawing that same shape right over it until that section is filled. I love this pattern. It's really lovely. I'm going to show you what it looks like as a border. It's actually a grid pattern, so you would do this in another grid, you know, like another box if you drew a grid. And here it looks like as a border, and I did some shading with that. So each square is what we just did. And if you were to make this into a grid pattern, you would just have another square there, and you would put in like that and do everything all over again. Right? So the name of this pattern is BrrrSt with 3 R's, capital S-T. I think it was named after a street, like Burr Street or something. That was really messy, but that's okay. I have it a little bit neater over here. And again, you'll get this in the email, but BrrrSt or BrrrSt is the name of that pattern, and it's lovely. Okay, so now I'll give people just a minute to finish that up. And we're going to move on to our first official border pattern on this tile. And on each, we're going to work with this section, the next section out. And just so you know, we're going to do one border around here, but then we're going to do a different border in a different pattern in each one of these sections. So you guys, in case you were wondering where the 5 were all, the 5 or 6 were going to go. Okay, so here, what we're going to do is on this pencil line, give me a minute here. The corners are tricky. Draw an X. You're going to trace over this line, not all the way to the bottom. You want to leave space, so kind of like right like that with your pen. I'm going to zoom in here, right? So not to the edge, just a little line, and then create. So half of the X is tracing over that pencil line, and then you just make an X. And we're going to do that in all 4 corners. So I'm going to just right about here, leaving some space to the edge, drawing tracing over a little part of that pencil line, and then drawing that X. And you don't have to go over it like I was going over it, just kind of showing you. So just like that, and an X. X. So we have an X in all 4 corners. Now you're going to leave some space and draw another X. So we're just focusing now on this area, the bottom border section, and leave some space, good amount of space, and then another X. And then I could fit one more in here. And do that on all 4 sections. So we've got an X here, and now we're going to leave some space, draw another X, nice and slow and relaxed. Another. And everyone will have a different amount of X's depending on how big your section is, because we all draw differently. And then we'll do it again here. All right, so now that would make a border. That right there, that's a great border, but that's not what this is going to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect. So I'm going to turn my tile. It'll be a little bit easier. So we've got these 2 edges of this X and these 2 of this X, so the ones that are closest, and we're going to draw a straight line from tip to tip of those 2 points of those X's. Just do that one with me. Okay. And now we'll do the next one. So it's the same exact thing, the point, the point. And if you need to extend your X a little bit like I do right there, go ahead. So we'll just draw that straight line. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We'll do that again. And again. And then when you're done, turn your tile and do that on each side. Here's the point here. Now, some of you may have done this pattern before as a border in one of my Opus classes. I think we did use this in one of my Opus classes. Now the corners can be a little tricky, so don't worry too much about that. So the next step of this border is we're going to find that X, and where there's a, see, now we've got that little opening on top of that X. So we're going to start to draw kind of a diamond. So we're going to go right over that line, come down, back up, and up. So it's creating a diamond. So we start right above that X, draw a straight line across the top left part of that X, come down over that bottom left X, come up on the right, and then meet where you started. Nice and slow and relaxed. This is one of those patterns we have to really focus on what we're doing. Focus on where it goes. This looks like an owl is looking at us while we're doing this. Now, like I said, the corners can be tricky. Everyone might be a little different here, but I'm still going to put one here. I might wait. I'm going to wait. So on the corners, now everyone may have done the corners a little bit differently, but what I'm doing is I'm going to find that opening, like here it is here, and I'm going to draw that diamond. So it's a little bit of a different angle. There's my X, and there's the opening there, an X. And here I did it a little wonky, but that's okay. You just leave that alone, it won't show up. Now there's one more part to this pattern. And if you like it like this, you can leave it. You don't have to add the next part in. We're going to connect these points here. Now I'll show you what the pattern, original pattern calls for. Just these little arc shapes, just like we do a lot of times, these little rice shapes, and then we color that in. Okay? And that makes it really pretty. Now, an alternate thing is if you don't have that much space, you could just put little dots traveling. Or you could draw a straight line and put little dots or beads over that line. So those are a couple options. You might come up with something different. I'm going to continue on doing these little rice shapes. So corner to corner of those diamonds, it's not really corner to corner, the two diamond points, the one pointing to the right, one pointing to the left, those are what we're going to connect. Well, if you have it this way, top and bottom, nice and slow, relaxed. Now there's one more part to this pattern, and that is we're going to aura the whole thing. And I really want to emphasize slowing down and really focusing with this aura, because this aura can make this whole pattern. Even though you don't really need to aura, I mean it's already, I think, very nice. But here's how we're going to aura. We're just going to go trace right above it the same shape, nice and close. So get, even with that diamond, get that nice point in. And you'll do both sides. all of the other borders that we do today, or patterns, are going to be much easier. This is going to be the most intricate one that we're doing. And look what I did. I started going around again. Oh, isn't that interesting? Opportunity for outstanding, I forget what it's supposed to. So everything happens for the way it's supposed to. I started to go around again, and I'm going to stop there. I'll just let it be. Maybe later on I'll continue that. But now I want to do the outside and give that an aura as well. It's okay to go over the pencil line that's there. The pencil is meant to be disappeared. It just gives us some boundaries. You can always go over the lines. I think I'm going around again. Well, my inner artist seems to want to go around again, so I'm just going to not fight it and go for it. Since I have the space here. Okay. So let's move on to another border. And if you're not done, just go back to it at any time, as always. So the next one, lots of fun. And we will do this one right on the bottom here. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. So we're going to go to these sections. Now we've got, some of us have space here, some of us don't. We will revisit this, or I might let you decide, maybe you, at the end, you might want to put in your own border there, but we'll see what happens. Let's stick with the plan for now. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 patterns. And so pick any section you want. I'm going to pick this bottom one. And we're going to come up from this corner, and it's going to be very similar to the pattern Eek, but we're going to come up. We're going to do a loop. And then when we come down, we're going to come down and do a bottom loop. So we're coming up again, come around, back down, and a loop. So that makes a very nice border. Now there's a few more things you can do with this. You can leave it as is. You can put in an accent, a little embellishment here. So what I'm doing an inside aura And then when I come around, I continue to go inside. We've done this before, so it gives it a nice little accent. So you can do that in all the sections. You could also go into these loops and give it maybe an embellishment, maybe some stripes. You could give it a circle and another circle. You could color them in. Let's see, yeah. So I'm suggesting put in these accents if you'd like, or maybe there's something else you'd like to put in there. And then maybe give a little embellishments on these little loops if you want to. I'll give you some time to do that now if you'd like. You can put in little polka dots, or freckles. You could put in a crescent moon, just like what we did in BrrrSt, and give it some arcs. Put in some triangles. You can turn it around to see how it would look going vertically. Okay, so let's move on to, again, you can always revisit that. Let's move on to another pattern. And I'm going to pick this one on the side here. So we're going to just from this corner, give it a slightly curved line, almost like an S shape, like a slight S shape. And then leave some space and do that again, just this kind of wavy, slight S shape. Leave some more space and then another. I mean, that alone with some shading can be a border. You can even aura these, but we're not going to do that today. You know, could aura these lines. So now we're going to put in these stripes. So since this is on an angle already, I'm just going to copy that angle or that shape. Filling up this section just with some straight lines, nice and close together if you want. and then you're going to skip one and do the same thing with the next one. Now the original pattern shows going straight lines, like mimicking this line, but because we're doing an angle today, I'm going to keep going with that. So I'm just going to put an angle right here, diagonal rather, and I'll just fill up this going in both directions. Focusing on each line, nice and slow. Don't press down too hard. Now I'm going to suggest tracing over this pencil line to connect these, to kind of finish that off there. Actually, you can trace all the way down. And maybe we're going to trace down here and here. And of course, you do whatever you want. And when you do these borders, you can do the same border all the way around. These are just giving samples, or you can do it like this. You can have different patterns in different sections of the border. But these are borders that can go all the way around. Now, let's go to this section here. So I'm going to turn it upside down, even though there's no right side up. And I'm going to work on this section now. Now we've already got this diagonal going, so we're going to keep going with that, and we're going to come out and make a nice triangular shape, and we're going to come back up almost like a zigzag, just like we did earlier in a pattern, making it nice and pointy. So you've got each one is a triangular shape. I'm actually going to trace over this pencil line here as well. So we're going to start with the first triangle, and on the left, on this bottom corner here, bottom left corner, we're going to draw a straight line, and we're going to land on the opposite side of that triangle. And we're going to alternate. So this is very similar to the pattern betweed, but it's called hybrid. I think they should just call it betweed. It's really the same pattern. But so now we're going to take this corner, and I'm going to turn my tile to get a more comfortable angle. Actually, I'm going to show you this way. It might be easier. I like to draw from this corner, and now we're doing the same exact thing. We're going to hit the opposite line. And we're going to alternate. And you can even come down from that line to that corner. Just turn your tile, get a more comfortable position, alternating, hitting the opposite line. So what makes this pattern really cool is we're going to do the same thing in here, but upside down. Now you can either do it, leave it this way, or you can turn your tile and do it from the same angle we were just doing. But I'm going to keep it like this. And so what we're doing is we're doing it the same thing, but upside down. So this hits the opposite side, opposite side. We're doing the same exact thing, just the opposite, upside down. Alternating. They can be straight or curved, doesn't matter. And then when you move back to this one, it'll be just like the first one we did, the reverse direction, shooting for that top. So this is a good time to tap our pens, shake out our wrists, take a little body break, stand up and stretch if you'd like, lean back in your chair, just move your body, move your shoulders, your neck around, your hips, maybe a couple of breaths, give your body a nice break. And we'll take about a 1 minute, 2-minute break before I start up again. I'm actually going to pause the recording. No, I'm recording. Okay. So now we're going to take our pen, and we've got one section left, and I'm going to keep it on my left side. Now this pattern is very similar to poke leaf, but think of a rounded poke leaf. So what we're going to do is I like to start from the bottom. With poke leaf, well, I don't know. So we come from the bottom, kind of round it up, bring it up, and then almost like a fat poke leaf. If you know the pattern poke leaf, like a spade or an upside down heart, think of it as a more roundish, fatter. I'm sorry if you hear my kitty cat. Oh my goodness. And now we're going to draw a slightly curved line in the middle, and we're going to aura that. Hold on one second. Okay, now with this shape, we're going to give it these other curvy lines, auraing them, doubling them up. Doesn't matter what direction they go in. Now I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to show you how I'm suggesting we're going to connect them. So I'll do another one. Actually, I'm going to start this one right over here, and then nice round. From that top point to the bottom, just nice slightly curved aura. And then I'm actually going to go this way now with so for this pattern, what I suggest, and you can put these stripes any way you want, but my original, for the original pattern I created, these on this side, on the right side, it kind of goes down, and then on the left side they kind of go up, and they're just arc shapes. They can have a little swirl to them too. So that's how I am creating this pattern, but then you can do it all different directions. So that would be like the original, this side down, that side up, but then as you keep growing this, you can then do whatever you like with these side stems or side auras, whatever you want to call them. And that's all we're going to do. We're just going to fill this up, this whole section up. Just keep growing it. Now with this pattern, if you want, you can add some fescues out of them. So coming out of anywhere you want with these nice big long stems, and then curve it over, have one of those like little loops. These are little fescues. Fescues are fabulous embellishment. It's an actual pattern, but we use it a lot in ZoomTangle as an accent or like an embellishment, just to kind of give it a final touch. So this pattern is called MUV, or movie, MUV, and the reason I named it that is because it was the wallpaper in the MUV dispensary, which is a marijuana clinic in Lady Lake, in Florida, right, in the villages, or near the villages. And I thought it was so pretty and so ZoomTangle-like, I said, I am making that a pattern, even though it's very similar to a lot of the things that we do. So it will be on my website today, the step out and the copy of the wallpaper that was there. It might have been a poster, wallpaper, something like that. So now, I know we've done a lot today, and I'm going maybe a little bit faster than usual, but I hope you're still feeling the relaxation. Now, if you have white space like I do here, we have some time. So what I would like to suggest is that you decide, if you have some white space, you decide what pattern or patterns you'd like to put in here. Now, I'll give you a review of the patterns we did in the beginning, in case you want to maybe, you know, I might, maybe some, or the tipple or the accordion here. So we did eek. These were the first 5 that were easy and quick. This was tipple, this was tink, this was, I'm just calling it accordion or XV, and then we've got the love bugs. But if you have a pattern that you really like to draw, I would suggest turning it into a border and putting it in here, or put a few different ones. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 different ones. I'm going to put in, well, let's see. And you can also do one of the ones that we already did as well. I think I'm going to do the tipple one. So I'm going to put in a nice big orb and then put in those little and you can also leave it white if you have white space and just wait for the shading. We can have some fun with the shading. So another. think now I'll put in, I'm going to use one, two, I'm going to use the ones I showed you. So now I'm going to do eek. Just going to come up. Eek is like half of Echoism. Oh, and I meant to mention Laura. But first I'm going to show you, I'm going to do eek. Last time I reversed this, but I'm going to now do it, keeping it this side. So I'm kind of doing it upside down, the same thing I just did. So my good friend Laura, I don't think she will mind me saying this, sends me a pattern and says, did I just create a new pattern? And I said yes and no. Let me see if I can see her as I'm telling this story. Okay. And because it was just like Echoism, but what she did is she thought of Echoism on her own, and then what she did is she connected the loops. So for example, she kind of made this kind of like an arc shape, right like that, with these top loops and bottom loops. And I'm doing that right now to kind of show you what she did. And I thought it was funny because I had just been practicing it and preparing for this class, so I was already very familiar. So that's how I knew the name right away when she texted me. I'm like, oh, that's Echoism, because I was just working with that. I think I'm going to put eek. Oh my goodness. I think my cat is trying to tell me to stop talking. She's saying, Jackie, this is a meditation class. So she's saying, Mummy, this is a meditation class and you're talking too much. That's why she's yelling at me. Or maybe she just wants some food. So take another minute or two, and then we'll start to shade. I'm going to mute myself and try to attend to this noisy cat. Okay. So now we're going to start to shade. So get out your pencil and your tortillon. We've done the tortillon toast, so you can shade. You're ready to shade. Let's start with the middle, the pattern BrrrSt. We'll work our way out. So I'm going to put a little graphite right down, right along the edge of this inside diamond, right above those arc lines. Just giving it a shaded aura. And then with the tortillon, just smooth it out, staying really close to the edge. Facing that tortillon against that line, that arc line. you'll see there's some pencil line all along this border of this square. So I'm just going to take what's already there and kind of just blend it in just a little bit. Take that pencil line, it's already there, blend it in, giving each one of these sections a little shaded outline. And this again was the reason I like to use the side of the pencil, because then it blends better when we drew that line. Another thing I like to do is put a little bit, I'm using what's left in my tortillon and putting just a little bit where those arc shapes meet the diamond. So it looks like it's going underneath almost. And it's a great place to shade, as many of you know. Where it looks like it's going underneath, that's a great place to shade. So I think that's all that really needs right now. And now let's move to this pattern here, XYP. And let's just shade these little diamonds. Just very lightly, just put a little bit of graphite, just dabbing. So I'm dabbing just a little graphite on the diamond and then smoothing that out. Now again, there's more than one way to shade, and to be honest, I don't know if I would have shaded the diamonds, but I found while I was practicing this pattern as a border, because the corners were kind of challenging, I really spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. So I Googled it, and up came Melinda Barlow, who does a million videos, and she's got something on everything. She's amazing. Melinda Barlow. And she decided, she shaded the diamond, so that's kind of why I'm doing it. But I also think I would like to shade a little bit of the border. So just kind of like the border where we outlined it, just somewhere in those lines, somewhere in the border. It's kind of busy, but... And actually there's some more pencil here. I see some pencil here, so I'm going to grab that pencil from the string that we did and just kind of bring that in. I'm not sure if you, yeah, you guys should have that too. Okay. Now, let's go move on. I hope I'm not going too fast. Let's move on to Echoism and do a little shading there. And I think I'll just do a little bit of shading right along one area. I'll just put a little graphite inside these loops. It can be on the edge, it can be in the middle, just a little bit. And then take that tortillon and just blend it in. And the key to this is just, you're not shading the entire orb loop, which you can, which is fine, but just to put a little bit in so it has a little bit of graphite, but you've also got some white highlight there. So sometimes just dabbing the tortillon, just to give it a little bit of shading. And also, if you did these accents, I'm going to put some in the middle. I'm using what's left of my tortillon and putting some graphite right in the middle of these accents. And remember, you can shade any way you want if you have a different way of shading, because there's more than one way to shade. going to move on to this twisted rope, and the only thing I'm going to do here is give it an outline on both sides of this border. So on the left side and on the right, using the side of the pencil, just bringing some graphite in, and then taking the tortillon and blending it. Little circular motions, or back and forth the opposite direction you drew the pencil in. Facing that tortillon towards that line. Bring it out a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to blend it in first, and then go back again and bring it out. So we've got a lighter layer coming in a little bit more, just a little bit more. Especially on these white ones here, it gives it a nice little highlight. So you've got the graphite on either side, and then you've got that white in the middle. Again, you know, this camera doesn't show the graphite as well, or because it's darker on mine, but you can see where I'm going with that. Let's see if I turn that off. It's a little bit better. Okay. Alrighty. So let's move over to hybrid. I'm going to, you know, we just had a lot to do today, so we're going a little bit faster than usual. So for hybrid, I'm just going to go right down the middle of each one. So using the side of the pencil, right down the middle of where they connect, very lightly putting some graphite down. And then going over in circular motions, move it back and forth, bringing it out to either side. And I'll do that on every section. And the purpose of today's class was not just to create a lovely tile, but to give you ideas of borders. So when you do create a tile and you want to put a border around it, this just gives you some ideas. It's like a sample. And now, okay, we're going to move over to MUV, or movie. And for this one, I'm going to put a little bit like kind of where it gets rounded on the bottom. So I'm going to do that on both sides, and then I'm going to put a little bit of graphite on either end of the middle stem. And again, you can shade any way you want. This is just one suggestion. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up also, and just with what's left of my tortillon, just come up a little bit on either side. So for the recording's sake, I'm going to turn the recording off in a moment and let everyone chat. And before I do, just want to remind those watching the recording to sign your artwork when you're done, anywhere you want. Make sure you turn your tile around different directions and really appreciate what you did today. Remember to post it on the Facebook page. There'll be one designated post, so everyone can post on that same, in the comments of that same post, so we can all see what everyone did. Whether you were on the class or not, if you watch the recording, we still want to see what you did. And I thank you for being here. So I'm going to stop the recording.